Hi, you're on the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. We're here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. Join us live in the chat room. Do you know what the critical race theory is? In his later years, Chuck Colson developed a radio program called Breakpoint. It has continued online and on many Christian radio stations. It also pops up online with articles of interest, often written by John Stonestreet. The current article's authorship is shared with Shane Morris, and the article concerns critical theory. Critical theory originated with a group of political philosophers who applied Karl Marx's ideas about economics to society as a whole, especially across additional categories of class distinctions such as race, sex, and gender identity. The result was an all-encompassing worldview that purported to reveal hidden power structures behind society's problems and institutions. They did this by dividing people along the lines of oppressed and oppressor. Critical theory is an approach to social philosophy that focuses on reflective assessment, a critique of society and culture in order to reveal and challenge the power structures. This technique, with origins in sociology and literary criticism, argues that social problems are influenced and created more by societal structures and cultural assumptions than by individuals and psychological factors. This from something called the Wayback Machine, Cambridge University Press. This is an approach to social philosophy that studies culture and societies to discover, to challenge the power structures within a society, within a culture, in order to expose and challenge the structures. Central to this study is the existence of God, to discover, to challenge. Also, what does it mean to be human? What's really wrong with the world? To discover, to challenge. These are clearly philosophical issues, but with tangible physical and psychological implications. You see, critical theory, it seems, is focused on what's really wrong with the world rather than what makes it wrong. The central questions revolve around who is God, what does it mean to be human, and what's really wrong with the world. This is an approach to social philosophy that focuses on reflective assessment and critique of society and culture in order to reveal and challenge the power structures. Now, critical theory tends to argue that social problems are influenced and created more by societal structures and cultural assumptions than by individual and psychological factors. It includes the question most central to defining a worldview, other than who is God and what does it mean to be human, which is what's really wrong with the world. Now, it's a tricky question because there's a lot of things wrong with the world. But the question, what is the core problem that needs to be addressed in the world, the root cause of evil and human suffering? What solution can be offered to fix it? To date, no human philosophy has had an answer. Never has. For example, they point out we should want to see justice flourish and racism of all kinds to come to an end, and especially in light of our nation's history and evidence that our African American neighbors are not being treated equally before the law. That's it? Sum total? These are not the problems. They're the result of the problem. So what is the problem? It's a three-letter word we're not allowed to say in public anymore. Sin. They acknowledge that not everyone who talks about ending racism and creating justice means the same thing. For a growing number of people, including some Christians with good intentions, these goals are shorthand for an ideology that divides instead of reconciles, that sees people as either oppressed or the oppressor, rather than as divine image bearers created from one blood. The ideas of critical theory, especially since the horrific killing of George Floyd, have become a central part of our national conversation. Once largely limited to the academy, these ideas have trickled down the way ideas do to the media through popular culture into the cultural imagination. Even those not familiar with the term critical theory will likely recognize its central tenets. But will we ever find the solution? Not until we acknowledge our lack, which is what? We're sinners. By nature. What do sinners do? Sinners sin. And sin is destruction.